Welcome to a Real Man Wood podcast. This is Chris Liss, your host, and I'm joined by my co-host of Yahoo Sports, Dalton. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing all right. A little tired. I was at the Giants game last night. Not complaining. Great game, actually. My guy, Hunter Strickland, talk about him here in a second for another reason. Blew it, but ended up getting the win. A walk-off, McCutcheon, fun game, but it lasted forever. Like, it was a 4-hour game nearly, so got home really late. But, yeah, some action going on now as we speak. So what's up with you, Liss?
Not much. I'm not that pleased with the early performance of most of my teams. In AL Tout, I have my three hitters. I mean, Bregman just had a big day, but I had Stanton, Bregman, and Buxton. Those are my biggest hitters. So, like, they're all terrible for the first 10 days. And despite having Kluber and Sale, that team is like middle of the pack. So I should be doing better, but my hitting is doing badly. I'm NFBC main already with the Bumgarner injury. I'm struggling with pitching. I mean, it's just April 11th. I mean, it's so early. But, I mean, you can't get cavalier about that. I mean, if you're behind, you got to make moves. And I'm pissed. Like, I started to advocate this, middle reliever strategy this year where you pick up the Davinskys and the Gazelmans and the, obviously Andrew Miller's drafted pretty early. Instead of those low-end starters. And I think that's true. But yesterday in my main event, I left Ryan Madsen, who got a save, and Colin McHugh, who had 4 strikeouts in 2 innings and no runs on my bench. And, I guess I got Yanni Chirinos in today. So it's the thing about that strategy is it's not like they're starting pitchers who have a day that they start. Those guys, they kind of fill in when they fill in. And it's really hard to time. You try to get guys with good matchups. You try to get guys with 7 games in the week, at least 6. But, I mean, it's not like if a guy has 2 starts, exactly against whom he's going to come in, what situation it is. Here it's just, you don't really get a warning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the boring stock answer. It's so early. I haven't overreacted or reacted much, period, to, Kershaw, 3 starts, ERA in the low ones and 0 wins. That's frustrating. And it's funny that he feels disappointing even otherwise, too. The K's not racking up and the velocity, but he still sits with, like, such a good ERA. It's funny.
How many K's do you think he has? Not looking at it.
Probably 6 to
19.
15. Yeah.
How many innings has he thrown?
19.
18.
Okay, yeah. All right, that's fine. Whatever. He'll be okay. I mean, his velocity is down a little, so we'll see. I think the main story, and everyone's I don't know if you've heard of him, but I mean, it's obviously the Ohtani, and I don't have any shares of him, and I really wanted him toward the end. I'm like, the hate has gone too far. I said it here on this podcast, but I didn't take advantage of it enough. I went on record saying he's going to be a bust. I'm worried about the UCL damage. Just at his cost, I just thought there was too much risk. And now, really, this is a worst case scenario for companies like myself and Yahoo, because if he's a sick hitter, then man, he should be one player.
Yeah, it's real. I picked up the hitter in the Friends and Family League just because you can move him in and out daily, which makes him worthwhile. But yeah, I've been complaining about this on XM, and I was doing this since January.
I know,
and, so I got into it with Pete a little bit, Pete Schenke, who, I mean, our commission service is a very small part of our business, but I was saying, we need to not be lazy here and make this guy the 8 or 9 category player, because he can run, apparently, hasn't had a chance to yet, that he obviously can be. And then you say, okay, well, if he's going to get you, 12 wins and 175 Ks and a 3 ERA and whatever else, plus 15 home runs and 45 RBIs, all in the same week, all in the same season, and you get all those categories, like, what's that worth? Well, it may be worth the number 1 player, or it certainly may be worth the number 6 player. And that was a puzzle we should have had our users, the people playing, give them a chance to figure out. But we deprived them of that, because the real reason we did it, and Pete was saying, he's like, it's harder than you think to program the feeds for a single player to go in both directions. And I'm like, yeah, okay, we landed a person on the moon 50 years ago. I mean,
I don't know. That's what I was told too. Yeah. No, it's super hard. Apparently,
it's not hard. I mean, look, Pete knows 1,000 times more than I do about programming, but it's just bullshit. I mean, it would be it would have taken time. It would have been time consuming. Everyone has a finite amount of resources. Again, it wasn't really us so much, because that's not our thing. But you guys, I mean, you're Yahoo, ESPN, CBS. Nobody really did it. And
I was with you from the beginning that I thought that should be the case, but I didn't think it was a big deal if not, because I just didn't think his hitting wouldn't matter.
That was Pete's argument.
Might have been really wrong.
Yeah,
that might have been really wrong. You see Steamer, like after his second homer, already projected him for like a 122 WRC plus. I don't even know what it is now. Like I don't know. Maybe we'll be laughing at this comment that we're even talking about this a month from now, but he's certainly exciting. It's good for baseball, and even as just a fan, it's pretty cool to see. I mean, this is sick.
Yeah. But I get, like, I am disappointed that nobody just, you know what, we're going to make this a possibility. It could have been not the exclusive one. Then they say, well, what are you going to have? You're going to have Bumgarner hit? You're going to count all your pitcher stats? I said, it'd be very easy, at least on the user side. All you do is you have every pitcher. You can either use them as a pitcher or use them as both. Obviously, in the AL, unless it's an interleague week, it's not going to matter. But in the NL, you could have started pitcher, reserve, or pitcher and hitter. And if you want those stats to flow through, they will flow through. If you don't, then they don't. You wouldn't make a special rule just for Ohtani. He would just be a pitcher like every other pitcher. But now, when you activate a pitcher, you can also activate him to get his at-bats. That would be the simple way to do it.
The hitting pitcher stats, when people bring that up, is just the silliest thing ever to me, in my opinion. I mean, the guy's DHing on days he's not pitching. Right. I mean, it could not be more different.
Obviously.
I mean,
and also, most people, unless it was Bumgarner who might get you 6 home runs or whatever, you know, you're just not going to use that. It's going to be too detrimental to your batting average to use it, or very near zero in the best case scenario. Whereas Ohtani's the only one that's going to matter whether you have it active or not, you know. And so, but you give everyone the capability because, of course, why not? I mean, you don't make a special rule for him, and that's that. And so,
just to illustrate that point, sorry to cut you off, but like Derek Carty said something like his projections was like the difference between Ohtani and like the best projected pitcher hitting wise is the same gap as like Trout versus a league average catcher or something.
Right.
Like the gap is just massive. I might have even undersold that.
Right. No, of course. So again, I think you should have the functionality to do that with your pitchers, but it's not going to be important. You're not going to want to 90% of the time. And I haven't done the math whether Bumgarner's hitting stats, you know, outweigh the bad batting average that he's going to bring to the table. Maybe they do. So you add him in there, but you just build the system to be able to take it. I mean, it's not rocket science. Those guys generate stats, okay? And so that you have a player with a certain ID run through the system with whatever stats he has on the hitting side and the pitching side. It's not that hard. The problem is that the whole site is designed, those whole commit services are not designed to take that. I mean, I'm simplifying, I'm not a programmer, but you can imagine, okay, yeah, it seems simple, but it's not built for that, to have 2 different things go in, okay? So there'd have to be some work. And,
and the code was written so long ago.
It's written a long time, and, you know, if you're wiring it for all the pitchers, it's probably a lot of shit, and a lot of things are probably flow from the fact that it goes to either one or the other, and you don't get both sides into one. I mean, I'm sure it's more complex than I'm making it out to be. But again, we put a man on the moon 50 years ago, man. I mean, come on, this is not that hard of a task. And it's just a matter of will and a matter of resources, and companies just thought, you know what you said, what if he's a terrible hitter and we put in all this work and all these hours and it's just no point? But I just think that's a bad attitude in some ways.
So where would you take him if he were a universal player in a draft held today?
Probably in, like, I said Wheelman takes him number 1 on the XM show, but we don't really know that he's going to hold up. The thing is, the stuff is Syndergaard, Severino stuff. I mean, it's just it just lights out. I mean, he only has like 2 pitches really, but they're devastating pitches. A splitter and a fastball. And the fastball is 99, and the splitter looks like it's not. You know, looks like the fastball and then drops. So it's just
his spin rate's crazy.
And so the dude is like, it's not like he just he's getting lucky. Let's see if he can keep it up. I mean, the stuff is there to back up the numbers.
And he's homering off Kluber.
Right, Ralph Kluber, right, like the best pitcher in baseball the last year and a half. So
that's like 4 years.
Right,
Kluber actually.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. It's just a small sample, and it's not like he has 12 home runs now. He has 3. So I mean, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but yeah, I mean, I think like you'd have to take him like in the 10th overall. Once you get out of like the Harpers and those guys, it's like.
No, I was going to say late first. I was going to say late first.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think right now, and I think if he keeps us up for like even one more week, I think you got to go early first, and one more week after that, you go first. That's it.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Man, I wish just one share, and I'm in so many leagues. I'm an idiot. That's usual.
So I was like that, and then I went and got him in the staff keeper league because we drafted that April 3rd. We did our podcast last week right before it, and I paid $45 for him. Verlander went for like 51. I was in on that, and then I let it go, and I was like, all right, I got to get this guy. So I'm pleased with myself.
All right, I have one more complaint, then I'm going to throw some stuff. I actually do have some stuff to throw at you because I caught a couple of your XM shows. But one thing I want to say that I talked about was Thames, my boy.
Yeah.
Driving me crazy. The thing I'm most frustrated with in all of fantasy baseball is The person I dropped for Hunter Strickland last week in the league we're in together, beat Chris Liss too, was Thames, like an idiot. He was sitting like 2 of the first 4 games, lefties. He was horrible the final 2 months last year, but I know that park and what he did the first month last year. I'm an idiot. And now I have some absolute scrub on my team who's hurt like Joe Musgrove. I shouldn't even say it. Like the most obvious drop ever right now.
Yep.
And I'm such an idiot. And I realized my mistake. And I'm like, I better get this guy back on my team. And I bid almost maxed my budget last week with 230. And you bid, what, 320?
Yeah, I put in an extra juice in that bid because you dropped him. I did.
I was the runner-up, too. So just so you know, I was the runner-up. Look, I was 230, and then you guys. Not only is he, I have him, other shares of him, and I hope he does well. But that's just really bothering me. At least Strickland got a win, and he looks good. But that's the other risk of these pickups. Talk about, is this guy worth it? Well, also the cost.
Right.
Thames could go nuts. I mean, he really could.
I know. It's hilarious. I love getting that dude. But that team
and the fact you got him, and the fact I was the runner-up,
right.
I recognize my error. I'm like, this guy's going to go nuts. I'm an idiot. And I bid like, I would have bid higher, but I went so nuts on Strickland, I almost went my max.
You didn't have the money, yeah. I didn't really think about you getting him back because I was bidding enough that I was pretty sure you didn't have the money. Right. But secondly, I was like, how often does a guy who can hit 30-plus just kind of show? I mean, obviously there'll be somebody who hits 30-plus that we don't know about that comes online, but this is a guy we know about. And then I think Yelich was already hurt, so like that just frees up. Right. Yeah, it takes Braun back into the outfield.
Well, yeah, he definitely wasn't hurt when I dropped him. Right, Yelich definitely wasn't hurt.
But he was hurt by the time I picked him up. If you want to feel any better, that team is in dead last place though. That I have. I had Corey Seager on the bench because he only played 2 games in this 4-game set. Hit a home run yesterday, and Daniel Murphy is just now starting like activities, and Stefani Bell was on the show saying another month. So. That team is not good that I drafted, but getting things will help. So I do appreciate that.
All right, I've got a couple general questions for you. Do you have any stock whatsoever? Do you put any stock in things like Joey Votto usually gets off to slow starts, things like that?
Not really, but if he's off to a slow start, a guy like that, it's going to make me relax even more. I mean, I'm not really stressing about if I don't have any Votto, but. If a guy like Votto or Stanton, the weather's been cold. Stanton for me, it's just he's healthy. I don't really care. But that's like another one. Oh, it's cold weather. That's what it must be. But just guys slump, and it just is what it is. And if they all slump together on your team, it looks like you have a bad team. I'm in trouble in the main event though, losing Bumgarner because I'm like 30 strikeouts behind the pack already.
Right.
And it's like sure, like Bumgarner will be back, and I'll find some starters, but those 30 strikeouts aren't just gonna magically accrue to my team. I have to now outpace everybody by 30 strikeouts just to get even, and that's not good. That doesn't matter. Like, oh yeah, my guys will do better. They might do better, but unless Michael Wacha all of a sudden turns into like, Corey Kluber, whoever the next guy is who does that, or Aaron Sanchez turns into one of those guys, like it's not obvious where I'm going to boost an extra 30 strikeouts just to catch up. In fact, I don't even, I'm probably slipping behind even further, to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to bring up Stanton because I'm just not worried. I mean, whatever. I mean, it is kind of crazy though that he's that no player ever in the live ball era had two games with 5 strikeouts and no hits in the same season, and he did that by April 8th. And he didn't have 1 4-strikeout game last year, and he already has 2 5 sets. And I don't really care about the New York media hounding him or any of that stuff. So my other question I was curious about though was like Gerrit Cole, new scenery, change of scenery, a new team. And I'm like, oh, that's normally anecdotal, but maybe the pitching coaches are just flat out smarter. Did I underrate the fact that he's changing organizations, a guy like that, or is he just going to happen regardless?
I don't know. I mean, the Pirates were known as the organization that fixed everybody. Remember, Edison Volquez was good. A.J. Burnett had like another run at the end of his career. Like it was Ray Surge. He's the master. And I don't know if he's still there. I don't really pay that close attention to that kind of stuff.
Liriano was done, and then he kind of bounced back.
He was like the pitching whisperer. So if anything, Pittsburgh was the place. I don't know. I mean, it's good to be on a good team. Verlander certainly got it together when he got to the Astros last year. That park is really friendly. Yep. The defense is decent. Marisnik's good. Springer's good on defense. I think Correa is like okay, not great. Bregman's pretty good, I think, at third. So, and it's also just like some guys are going to be dealing the first month or few weeks, and let's check back in July when his arm has 100 innings on it and how he's feeling.
That's true, but if Cole does become like his pedigree and becomes a monster, I mean, with Verlander, and if McCullers does what he could, I mean, I don't know if people are quite realizing that it's not hyperbolic to say this is like the best roster in MLB history. I mean, this is absolutely loaded. I mean, they were projected to win 100 games, which is almost unheard of. And I mean, that doesn't mean they'll win it, of course. I mean, baseball, it's a crapshoot in the playoffs. But this team, wow. I mean, there's potential to be silly good.
Yeah, but and you're not even talking about the bullpen. Like Peacock, first of all, they have 2 more starters that are good. McHugh and Peacock are like 6 and 7. So that's like serious depth. And those guys are in the bullpen. And you got like Davinsky and you got Giles. I mean, you got such depth all over the place on that team. And, you know, Derek Fisher is like a good prospect. Kyle Tucker is in AAA, and he's a good prospect. I mean, they're just loaded. But I don't know. If you look at those starters, you know, Verlander to me is the best starter. Cole could be one of those guys. Keuchel has been shaky since he was so good at the start of last year. He's been a little shaky since. McCullers just got totally.
We've talked for 5 minutes. We haven't even talked about Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton's been great, and especially in the playoffs last year. So I don't know. It's a loaded squad for sure. But I don't see like they get to the playoffs against the Red Sox, and we'll see if Price can keep it up. But if you have like Sale Price, he may just mow them down. And you know, Verlander's good. Maybe Verlander's in that same class as those guys. I mean, he's better than Price right now. But you look at McCullers hasn't made it yet, and Morton has been really good. Like at the end of last year and for a few starts this year. But you know, I wouldn't say they have the really elite guys yet in starting. Besides Verlander.
All right, I think the potential's there for them to win like 110 games, but and of course the playoffs, and it's the league right now is full of top-loaded teams. Yes, those are monstrous teams you'll have to go up against, no question. A couple things I want to bring up to you is I love the rant that you went on because it's just from your lips to God's ear. What is it? From God's lips to my ears or whatever.
Your lips to God's ears, I think. Yeah.
Was about the breaking news, about how people are just so intent in getting credit for this stuff. Like, please, preach on.
Yeah, no, just the way that people want credit. Oh, so-and-so broke the story that, you know, Maurice Jones-Drew, I mean, I was making up a stupid old name, signs with the Jaguars or re-signs with the Raiders. And you're like, yeah, so why does that guy need credit? If he didn't break that news, then 2 minutes later, someone else would have broke that news. It's not like he's uncovering some government secrets at great risk to himself and great, you know, it's of great import to the public. Like, I'm going to go do something like I'm going to go do the Edward Snowden story and report that your government, which wants to kill us probably before we can get this info out, is spying on all of you, and that now, you know, you can't, everything you do is being encrypted and not being recorded and being published and being, you know, so that's a story. That's hey, that guy deserves a Pulitzer Prize because he broke this. He had a scoop. Being first for something that was going to come out 1 minute later anyway, it's like embarrassing that these guys take credit for it.
Yeah, maybe it'd feel cool. I'm sure it would feel cool if like an agent reached out to me and maybe I know it'll never happen. But
who cares?
Dude. If you don't hear it from that person, the next person is going to report it 2 seconds later. It's not the ankle is going to remain broken or he's going to go on the DL all the same. But I've always felt the same way, and I just heard you, apropos of nothing, go nuts about that.
It's this weird game that they're playing with each other. They validate the other guy because they know they'll get a quote scoop at some point, and so they want to publicize getting scoops in general because it makes them feel, you know, important. It's just like the same reason people publicize awards and stuff. Ooh, I won fantasy writer of the year in baseball or something like that. I have this guy, I won't name him, whatever. He's probably a nice guy. I don't know him, but he was like, "Hey, we're all nominated for baseball article of the year or something." I don't remember what it was. We should all like do this or do something. And I'm thinking like, dude, just because we got nominated for this Nutless Monkey Award, that means nothing. These guys who don't know shit. I used to send in I used to help Pete do the submissions for like a lot of the site for RotoWire, and it's actually helped us because we won a lot of awards and we promote it, bullshit, whatever. But like. And I used to submit like good stuff. Of course, not your stuff was garbage, but like the good stuff that I would get from the writers. And I'd be like, oh, this thing should win. This is really good. This guy wrote this thing. And I'd submit good stuff. And we did win stuff, but it was often just very mediocre stuff that won. And, you know, sometimes good stuff won, but sometimes very mediocre stuff won. And sometimes
you can tell the difference because you're submitting both. So you can see the
well, of course, I read them and I edited a lot of it. And it was like, this stuff is like not even well written. There was stuff that won from other sites that I checked out. I can't remember why I ended up checking them out, but I had to do something. And I was like, I wouldn't even publish this on the site. It's so bad. It's like so poorly written. And so, you know, but we all want to make it seem important, especially RotoWire, because we win a lot of awards. And so it's like, hey, look, we've won all these awards. We win the most awards, so go subscribe to us. So we start to have this like fake contest amongst each other to inflate us, to inflate all of us, who are doing it, who are in the contest. And so it's the same thing, with these. I think with this breaking news stuff, it's like they're not doing anything important. If one of those dudes quit his job for good and walked the earth or did something else, nobody would miss them. The guy's telling you who signed where. Not a single person would miss them because, of course, that news is coming out a minute or the same time or whatever. Nobody gives a shit. But they make it seem important. You know what? A real man goes to meet Edward Snowden in Hong Kong, secretly in some hotel, and friggin' bust the fucking NSA's ass for spying on everybody and lying to the American people, these unelected people spying on all your stuff. That's what a real man does. That's called breaking a story. This other shit is like, it's child stuff. It's childish.
I hear you, man. All right, a couple other things. What do you want to talk about? I saw that you I actually didn't look at your tweet, but I heard you mention that you tweeted about an all-time team, and then also I believe you have like a computer story that you kind of want to maybe vent about.
I got a few things. I got a few things. So first, that nutless monkey, Mark Zuckerberg, what a freak, right? He's sitting there getting grilled by Congress, and I really hope that they start breaking up these companies and allowing for some innovation. Those things have been a scourge. I hope they call Google, haul their ass. Larry Page, Sergey Brin, haul their ass in front of the Congress. The senators were so dumb. It was like your grandpa being like, hey, my son uses this Facebook thing, and, how do I delete my data? It was like, but I heard today that I watched a couple of them, that the House, these guys have smart staffers working for them. Like, they're idiots, a lot of these people. They're just like front men for special interests. But the staffers, a lot of them are really smart, and they probably took notes, and they know more about Facebook because they're younger, and they basically probably got them to ask good questions, and they did today. And Zuckerberg, there may be some shit going down. Like, I would not be, if I owned Facebook shares, I would have sold them a month ago or 2 months ago. I actually did own some in May. I sold them. And, you can ding me on the morality of owning that totally. There's one thing, the NSA spies on you and Facebook spies on you. It's all very unethical, and you're not consenting when you put your picture up to have that data like used to sell you all sorts of shit. Everyone knows Facebook's a dirty business.
Maybe I'm cynical. I just assumed everyone has my information anyway. I don't want like Russia to, directly go into my bank account or something, but I just assume people have my information.
Well, banks are the only place that, anyone cares about, right? But it's not about Russia, because I think that's a little bit of a red herring and go down that road too.
I was just,
I know what you're saying. I think it's more like, you don't want some Russian hacker to steal your money, basically, is what you're worried about.
Yeah, but I just assume that the people have, my information's out there.
It's more just like, you go to restaurants, use your credit card, all this information is being collected about you. You might have a photo somewhere, someone may snap a photo of you and a friend of yours, and they can build a profile of like where you go, what you do, where you eat, right? And so let's say there was something that was important to you. Let's say, your wife was like a pro-choice, movement or something, and they changed the law and she got involved. Like, someone who wanted to target you could kind of track your whereabouts very easily. And everyone says, well, I'm not doing anything like that. I just do my job. Like, I don't have to worry about that. But I just don't think we want to be in a society where if you did have a beef, if you did have a stand that was controversial, that you'd then be vulnerable and you'd be deterred from expressing it because people kind of know all your comings and goings and, might have an angle on you. And I think that's...
So I completely agree with you. And I'm not like, I don't care. You can check. You look into anything. Right. Yeah, I'm not. I have plenty of skeletons. Right. I want no one looking into me. I'm just saying I've admitted that I just figure it's all out there anyway. So I'm not going to get too worried about it. But I'm also the idiot that voluntarily sent my DNA in, to get my ancestry. So yeah, the man knows.
Mistake. But no, it's also just sort of like, they asked one question they said to Zuckerberg, where are you staying? What hotel are you staying at in town today?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I don't want to say that. And it's like, well, then stop fucking collecting that shit about everybody else, you fucking scumbag. He said privacy's dead. He bought like 5 properties around his house so he'd have privacy. Fuck that guy.
And I saw someone comment on that and say, well, he didn't sign a form going in that he released all,
Right. Like anyone reading these fucking forms. People are like... Exactly. People are like, this is a free service where I can like show my pictures of my kids to my friends, and nobody was like, oh, okay, there's an ad on this. Okay, fine, that's how they pay for it. But nobody fucking consented to the extent to which they're using your information. Nobody fucking remotely consented. But it's kind of ironic that it's Congress grilling him because nobody fucking consented to the NSA collection either, and they're not doing shit about that. They're not pardoning Snowden. They're not urging Snowden to get a pardon. It's a pretty nutless monkey situation altogether. But one thing at a time. So what were you asking? Oh, you were saying, sorry, what was the other topic that we were talking about? Oh, the airplane thing.
Yes, your computer.
So it's kind of like a Larry David thing because Heather has this friend. Heather has all these people stay with us, and they stay way too long, like, 10 days, 12 days. 12 days. You know, this one woman, I really like her. She's a cool person, but her kid is there, and her kid's like kind of entitled. And she's like, I want a water. I want this. I don't like this food. You know, for one night, it's like, okay, no, well, I'll get you something else. Don't worry about it. Or I'm more like, well, I guess you'll have to starve to death then because that's all that's on the table.
Yeah, I was going to say, I usually don't give my guests water. That's an unreasonable request.
No, water, no way, no way. But it's just very demanding. You know, get me this, do that. Can you move? I need to sit down. You know, all this stuff. And for like 12 days, you know, and you're on top of each other, it gets annoying. So whatever. So we have this woman stay. And then this other woman is supposed to stay, no kids, for 6 days, like a week later. And we're like moving, we're doing all the shit. It's really busy here. And so anyway, she's supposed to stay. This is booked for a while. And I decided I'm going to get a new computer because the one I'm using for my desktop is super old. And so Heather asked her friend, do you mind if Chris sends you this? It was a Mac Mini, but I'm actually now not going to get it. But it's a Mac Mini. Do you mind if he sends it? It weighs a few pounds because to order something here to Lisbon, there's like crazy tariffs. It gets held up in customs. It's a real pain in the ass. So what you do is you either, when you go back to the U.S., you buy something, put it in your luggage, you just bring it, or you have a friend who's visiting, bring it. That's basically how you deal with this. So she said, yeah, no problem. So I sent her the stuff, and then like a week and a half after she receives the stuff, about a week before she's due to leave, she emails Heather and says, I just checked the weather. It's going to be very rainy. I don't think I'm going to go. I just don't want to go just for a rainy week.
Right.
And I'm like, what the
That's
fuck?
the reasoning even?
Well, whatever, okay? And I'm like, what the fuck? I just sent you my computer. Like, now you got my computer, and that shit is stuck at your house.
So naturally, she apologized profusely.
Right, exactly. Right? I thought she'd be like, I'm so sorry, both to Heather and to me. Heather was relieved because Heather realized she overbooked, and she has a lot of shit to do for our move. It's like we live in an unfurnished place. We're moving to a furnished place. And, like, that's everything, like beds, mattresses. I mean, it's a lot of shit to buy in a foreign country in a foreign language. So she's dealing with all that. She's like, thank God she's not coming. But I was pissed because I was like, nobody was like, oh, shit, she has your computer. We're going to fix this at once. I'm going to make sure it was like, just relax. It'll be fine. What do you mean it'll be fine? You know, she can't just ship it to me. Then it'll be stuck in customs and I'll pay all these extra shit and who knows when I'm going to get it. And then secondly, like, you know, how am I going to make her pack this thing up? You know, so luckily it was just like a couple days before that. Like you have 14 days to return it. So I had her return it, and luckily it was right across the street. She lives like right across from a Mac store in Brooklyn, so it's fine. It got returned.
Right.
But there was no apology. There was no like, I'm so sorry. I should never, if I were this flaky, I should never have agreed to take on something so important as your computer. You know, it was just like, oh, yeah, okay, all right, I guess I'll do that. What do you mean you guess you'll do that? You better do that.
Yeah, I caught that segment, and you referenced the curb, and then you came out of commercial. I got to give Ivy props. He came with the segment even of that was a great apology when Funkhauser profusely to these and a couple minutes late to a party because before he didn't have a proper apology. It's really funny.
Yeah. Funkhauser really, that was a true. Yeah. I don't know if it was a nutless monkey apology or a real man apology, but it was a legit apology. It was high quality.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Good. All right, well, that is funny, though, that happened to you. It's too bad that it actually worked out for you. I wish it hadn't. Just about it for another couple of weeks. But so you ended up what are you doing instead?
So I'm going to get like an iMac. I started to do some research, and it actually worked to my favor because the Mac Mini hasn't been updated since 2014. So the iMac is like way more. It's like 2017, so I'm just gonna pay.
Yeah, I haven't got a new iMac in a while. I'm looking into getting one, and I think the last one they released was like June though, so almost a year. So I'm curious if another one's coming out soon, another update.
Yeah, I mean you can't wait indefinitely because then you like wait a year and they haven't done it, and then you're using your shit computer. At some point you just have to buy one, and so I mean June of 2017 or whatever it is. That's
it's new enough. Okay,
new enough, I think. I mean whatever. I'm not an expert. Someone might tell you no, there's this special one with a new chip coming out whenever, but. You know. Yeah,
if anyone hears that, and let us know if we can hear with through Liss's poor audio quality.
Yeah, and by the way, my battery's running low. I'm going to have to get up, leave you. You can entertain. I'm going to go get the plug, and you can plug it in. We'll go a few more minutes. I'm also going to use this as a quick commercial sponsor break. This is time for our commercial sponsor. yourself? I thought you were going to talk and entertain people.
No, I'm not. You don't pay me enough, Liss.
I just realized my computer was down to like 6%.
It's always something. Absent-minded.
Yeah. All right. So where were we? It's plugged in now. We're good. So that was a message from some sponsor of which I'm not aware, but I'm going to put it in when I edit this. It's not in the video. It's just going to be what you saw. That's why I was hoping Dalton.
Oh yeah, you don't even edit that. You don't even edit that.
I mean, I just leave it unedited. I mean, the difficulty is like if we get political and I go off the rails, like too off the rails, then when I listen back, I'm like, that's going to get not taken the wrong way, but like just I can see how that doesn't sound right. So I edit it in the. I'm sure everyone's like, dude, fucking leave that shit in. That's what I want to hear. But in the video, I don't edit anything
right.
because it's too much fucking work. I mean, it's one thing to edit the audio, and then you got to do the same thing over again. It's a lot.
Right. Well, that was riveting then that last couple minutes, but
yes, it was.
So what? So what next? You want to talk about the all-time team, or was that interesting at all?
I mean, you can check it out. I put it in my timeline at Chris_Liss. Basically, I did it in 2012, I think, and it's sort of the all-time stats. So based on a 2012 context, so like what the all-time fantasy team would be, just based on the stats, and it's like Babe Ruth. Actually, he was the number 2 hitter. The number 1 hitter only hit 8 home runs. But it was Ty Cobb. He scored like 140. He drove in 133. He stole 83 bases, and he batted .420, I think. So
yeah, Rudy Gamble did something about this, and I heard him talking about on a recent podcast. And the guy he said had the best fantasy season, and I think why it's different than yours. And I actually ended up talking to him about something different, and I brought up your study is that it was a strike shortened season, and in context, based on the opponents or his peers, I should say, was Mike Schmidt.
Yeah, 81, right?
Yeah.
He batted .315 with like 31 homers in 80 games. But
and the next highest homer was something crazy.
22 is Eddie Murray, I think. But
that doesn't seem as low as I thought. But so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I just know the season. But the thing is, unlike you, I was alive during that season. But
yeah, it's true.
But the thing is. Yeah, that's fine, and I'm sure, whatever. But no offense to Rudy. Rudy's a funny guy. He won't take offense. He doesn't take offense very easily. But like, I didn't give a shit about that, like in context bullshit. I just wanted to get the numbers. Like what if Babe Ruth, you could draft 59 home runs, 171 ribbies, 177 runs, 372 batting average, of 17 steals. Like, what would that do? The actual most valuable player was worth $93 out of your budget for one player. And it was Ed Walsh. He threw 464 innings of like a 1.69 ERA and like a .8 something WHIP. He only had 260 strikeouts.
I was going to say he killed you in the Yahoo max innings K League.
He did hurt you there. He wasn't as good in the Yahoo League. He's still good though because he won like 40 games also.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. He probably got like 10 saves. Oh no, they didn't have saves obviously.
There were saves then, but he didn't have any saves. But yeah,
weren't there some people that got like both though a good amount, like 2020 or something?
Yeah, there's closers. This guy Dick Radatz in 1964 had 29 saves, 16 wins, 180 strikeouts, and like a 103 WHIP and like a 164 ERA or something like that.
Right. So and then the ones that you wouldn't realize was crazy batting averages, I bet, right?
Yeah, well that's what I'm saying. Ty Cobb was the best hitter. He had 83 steals and batted .420. Right. So even though he only had 8 home runs, he like scored 140 and drove in 130. But like it was really the .420 and 83 really helped. Imagine just having that, drafting that. But there were guys that were recent, like Larry Walker was like the number 5 overall player in 1997. I don't know if you remember, but Larry Walker had 49 homers. He had like 45, 150 ribbies, 140 runs. He stole 33 bags and batted .369. So that's 5. That was 20 years ago. But that's a 5 category Coors at its peak superstar, and that's the 5th best hitting season of all time. And
one of only two players ever to go 340, 40, 30, right?
Right. That was my trivia question.
Yeah, I love it.
Him and Ellis Burks in 1996.
I was going to say, yeah. Right.
And so that's it. I mean, in the history of baseball, 40, 30, 340 has been done twice, which is crazy. Right. But on the same team in back-to-back years, and that's it.
And no one gets Ellis Burks. No one gets.
No, because it's such a. But that guy was a monster. I think I might have had him in one league that year, and it was a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is a fun exercise though. But the Schmidt thing, I get what you're saying, but I did not realize, like in context, how good.
Yeah. Pedro used to, have those 170 ERAs with 300 strikeouts in like an era where, pitchers were getting pounded. So there's guys like that.
Right. All right. What else you got for me? I'm fired up for the NBA playoffs. I mean, I actually think this is going to be exciting. I know you're not a big hoops guy. Warriors are going to be interesting. I mean, they might have some tough matchups with Curry. The Rockets are legit. Utah's going crazy. I personally bet on the Sixers at 20-1 to win the East a few weeks back. Pretty pumped about that. So
you should have bet on to win the championship at the beginning of the year. A real man would have bet on the whole thing.
I should have. You're right. Yeah. Apparently, I'm a Philly guy because I got the Phillies too for baseball. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm excited.
You got the right city. You got the wrong sport.
Yeah. That's right. I was not on the Eagles. In fact, I was the opposite of on the Eagles in the Super Bowl. But yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So NBA playoffs. You gonna watch it all?
Probably not. I don't know how to get it here. I probably could, if I really wanted to put my head to it, I could figure it out. Or actually, that's not true. On Apple TV, there's probably an NBA app that I could buy, like a playoff package. They're usually on super late at night. I could watch the rewind. If I were like betting on the games or DFSing, which I can't do from here, I think that.
And it's not like you love a team, the Knicks.
I'm a Knicks fan, but they're such a joke. I mean, with Porzingis hurt now too. I mean, they're at least. You see the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit, but again, if I could bet or play DFS, I'd be much more inclined to do it. But I'm not gonna
I wouldn't watch it if I didn't have any stakes. I probably wouldn't watch much. Yeah, I got you.
And you're a Warriors fan; it's totally different. By the way, a lot of pressure on Kevin Durant because if they lose, and those teams are good, like Minnesota, those teams could. If there's no,
Minnesota was like the 3 seed before Butler went down.
It's not just the number, but it's like those guys are good on that team, and if they beat Golden State without Curry in the first round, Durant looks like a chump because basically he coasted to his championship, which he didn't deserve, and then he gets bounced, especially if he gets bounced by the Thunder. Especially gets bounced by the Thunder. It's like, oh, you're not that good. Like without Curry, you guys aren't that good.
Sorry if you're saying Thunder. I was thinking T-Wolves because that's who they might have to play. But you're absolutely right. That would be that would look like he's not going to happen. Don't worry.
But he talks a lot of shit too, so he would get it big time.
Yeah, no, he's putting himself out there. He's going on Bill Simmons' podcast multiple times, which I love.
Yeah.
But then I get the heat, and he said some really things that were dumb as far as sabermetrical. Yeah. But he's different for a superstar, and that would for sure. But don't worry about it. That's not going to happen. Yeah. Thunder, T-Wolves, whatever. It could get interesting the next round. The Jazz are really good, and without Curry or a rusty Curry, certainly it'll be interesting in the not home court against the Rockets. But we'll see.
Yeah.
So what else? What else you got me for Liss? Got for me?
So the only thing, this is getting into a dangerous realm of politics, more so in some ways than what we've done before. But I think people should follow this guy, Michael Krieger, on Twitter. I think he's doing a really good job lately. And what it's about, this guy Matt Stoller is great on the Zuckerberg Facebook stuff, but this is even more important. This whole Syria gas attack. Oh, we got to go bomb Syria, and I'm based on what I've read, and again, I don't really trust the New York Times or the Washington Post or MSNBC or Fox News or CNN or any of the mainstream outlets. I think they're very complicit in a lot of bad things, and I don't think they're trustworthy or remotely trying to get at the truth. From what I've read with the people I trust online, is that almost certainly Assad did not do that chemical attack. Basically, Assad and the Russians had defeated ISIS. ISIS was on its heels. It was basically over. And he got what he wanted. His regime survived. He was winning. And so why, for no military purpose at all, would he kill 36 innocent people and then have World War III rain down on his country? I mean, there's no the media's explanation is because he's crazy, because he's evil. No, he may be crazy and evil, but you don't just do something when you've already won to undermine everything that you've been trying to do and your own survival, basically. And what is these warmongers who have weapons to sell and interests in the region and client states like Saudi Arabia to service want this shit to happen. And Trump even was like, no, we're pulling our troops out. And then what happens a couple days later after he says that? There's this gas attack that nobody can really verify. And basically there's a whole bunch of jihadists in the area who stage this kind of shit before it's. So, I mean, again, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not some expert in this. But the people I read and trust and who've been right about all the other shit that I've read when it's been a controversial thing are like, dude, no, this is not what happened. This is wrong. This is fake news. Just like we got into Iraq on fake news. Oh, there's WMDs. Most of the shit is fake news that is driving these wars because the truth is, like, it's not in our country's interest to be at war in Syria. But now it seems very risky that we're going to be in that. And this is not a small thing. Russia is backing Syria. We're backing God knows who, the rebels who were basically a bunch of jihadists. And it's just a very dangerous situation, and it's just very irresponsible. Everyone's like inflamed. Oh, Trump is Putin's bitch for a whole year, and now finally he's like doing the thing to defy Putin. Not that he's not responsible, he is, but inflaming it for a year was not helping. And this is like a really dire situation. Like the Iraq War is one of the hugest disasters of all time. It's basically weakened the U.S., cost us so much money. Many people died. 500,000 Iraqis is like the estimate of people who died. We're now going to do this in another country that has really no relevance to any regular person in the U.S. I mean, it's really fucked up, and they want to hurry up and do it because the longer they wait, like the more evidence will come out that this is not the real deal. And the only bright spot is that people, from what I can tell, are very skeptical, like regular people, like the dumbass CNN and MSNBC and, the New York Times is not being skeptical, but like people who are smart on Twitter and have big followings are very skeptical. And I just hope this blows up in their face and they're not able to do this, and whoever's fomenting this is, accountable for it, because it's really fucked up shit. And I see people tweeting about the NFL draft and all this other bullshit that we talk about, and that's cool. It's our job and we're into it, but it's like, this is a very fucking serious moment. And I just, to the small extent that I have people who listen to what I say, 100 of them or however many, like, I just feel like this is like important shit.
No, it's very serious, and I obviously don't have the answer, but it is interesting to me that you say that, because my friend at the game I was with last night, you actually met him in Vegas a couple times, was arguing the same exact thing you just were, that about Assad being like the reasoning behind why it's not him. He was arguing to me that basically the same exact thing you just said. So it's interesting that repeated itself there. So yeah, obviously I don't have the answer, but I do know it's serious. I do know that, and yeah, it's tough to know what to believe in the media these days.
It's more ridiculous than ever. I mean, it's truly a shit show, and it's amazing that people even have any faith in it. And I just hope anybody who even finds this entertaining for sports just takes a serious look at what they're being told. It's pure propaganda, and it's just this neoliberal alliance. It's sort of like the Clinton, Bush, Cheney, that whole faction that's in with sort of the deeper state, the deeper CIA, all that mechanism that is connected to the arms industry, and that's who wants wars. And basically people, whether you're like a liberal or a serious libertarian or whatever, nobody wants that shit, and even Trump. I mean, you can shit on Trump all you want, and I definitely do. Like, he ran on, we're not going to waste time with this. And he has like old tweets saying like, we're idiots to even consider going to Syria. It'll blow up in our face. But like, somebody's got to him, or somebody has some dirt on him or something, because, he should not be considering this. So I hope people like seriously wake up before it's like another total disaster, and there's going to be blowback too. This shit, you don't get away with shit like this. So,
yeah, no, man, well said, and it's very, very scary shit. Yeah. It's scary.
All right, on that bright note, I think we'll wrap this one up, and I'm not going to edit that shit out either. I think it's fine.
All right, man.
And all right, man. I'll catch up to you next week.
All right, later, Liss.
All right, later, man. Take care.